There's a lot of discussion over whether or not the Mormon Church is a cult and how much control it has over the lives of its members. And I've been on social media for the past 3 years, and I have a book that's about to come out telling my insider experience from within the Mormon Church, where it became extremely high controlling in my lives to the point that we had to move across the country to get away from it. And I know that not everybody has this experience in Mormonism, but I'm sharing what my experience is, and I'm not the only one. So I've been doing videos this week while I am in the hospital after a surprise emergency surgery about the financial abuse that my ex-husband Jake and I experienced in the Greenville, South Carolina ward with Bishop Van Hoff and Tina and Reuben Ayton. I guess it's appropriate that I'm in the hospital because what was going on in our lives at the time was the ovarian tumor, which has led to these recurring surgeries as I have some medical problems that sometimes need to be corrected. I was bedbound and hospitalized for a period of 3 years while I fought for my life. And just as a result, because we had 4 young children at the time and our family's entire focus was just on caring for me, and because we had so many medical expenses, we had about $300,000 in uncovered costs associated with my medical care. We ended up with a medical bankruptcy, a loss of income, and Jake full time just taking care of me and the kids. At that point in our lives, we'd already spent about $2,000 in tithes and offerings to the Mormon Church. It was the first time that we had ever needed help of any form. And we reached out to our bishop and the Elders Quorum president and the Relief Society presidency for some help with food. We had run out of all money. We had absolutely nothing and had a sudden loss of income one month when an unexpected client went away. We were in real danger of losing our beautiful farmhouse at that point. We just simply did not have any income, and I was dying. So reached out to our church leaders for some help with food and to just help a little bit with some of our mortgage every month. Like one month we were able to make like $2,000 of it. We needed help with 300. The Mormon Church owns farmland all over the place. They grow a ton of their own food. They have cattle farms and peach farms and corn farms, and they hand it out to their needy members through what's called the bishop's storehouse. The food is very, very basic. Nothing is pre-prepared. It's like pot roasts and potatoes and rice and pasta and an onion. They do have some really good salsa. So for a few weeks, the Relief Society president would sit down and fill out a form with us, and then we would get bags of very, very like rudimentary food, which was an extreme challenge for our family at that time. Jake was in real estate school, just trying to jumpstart a different career that would be more easy to do while I was recovering. And I had 4 young kids, none of whom could cook anything, and I was completely bedbound. So just having a pot roast and an onion, while really nice, was challenging. So here's where the financial abuse came in. Maybe I should have led with this. In order for them to provide us with any help, they required that they be on our bank account, literally physically on our bank account, so that they could monitor all incoming and all outgoing expenses. And the reason why our church did this was they said that we had to be current on all of our tithing. Tithing came first before anything. And then once the tithing was paid, they were monitoring our every expenditure. So if we had a $10 check deposit in our account, we had to immediately write out a $1 check. We actually wrote out a $1 check because I had sold something on Craigslist, wrote out a $1 check to the bishop for tithing. And in addition to them being on our bank account, every week we had to sit down with Tina and Reuben, who run this coaching business called Life Changing Services. And we had to sit down with them for an hour and just go through like healthy practices for earning money and the power of positive thinking and a lot of manifesting shit. And here's the deal. We had been wildly successful. There, we didn't need any help with any coaching. That's not something that the church should have required. The reason we were in this financial situation wasn't that we didn't know how to make money. It's that I was dying of a tumor, and it's really difficult to make money while you are fighting for your life. At that point, I was again either bedbound or in the hospital. I wasn't even getting up and going to church. I wasn't walking into the kitchen to make myself a sandwich. I was completely incapacitated fighting for my life, and they required that I come every Sunday and sit with them for that hour. So Jake would help me get dressed. He would drive me to the church. I would sit in a little folding chair, shivering, shaking. I know I show this picture all the time. It's the only picture I have from the hospital. This is me at the time. This is not an AI generated thing. This is me fighting for my life from a tumor. This is actually the day that I died and had a near-death experience. So on the day that I talk about in the video, where I had to go into town an hour away with my 4 children and have a doctor's appointment, and then on the way back home, we were so hungry that it took hours. I didn't know my doctor's appointment was going to be that long, that we went through a Burger King drive-thru. Oh my God, I can't believe that I did that. And I ordered $8 worth of food. All of the kids got a $1 menu burger. I didn't even buy myself anything. And then I got an order of fries and everybody drank ice water. And when I talk about my Mormon priesthood leaders blowing up at me because I had done that, I had just been a couple minutes out of the drive-thru and was just getting on the highway to go back out to our farm when I got a phone call from the Elders Quorum president, Ruben Ayton, saying, "Why did you just spend $8 at Burger King? Who just spent $8 at Burger King? The church is supposed to provide all of your food, and you have some money that just went in that you haven't paid tithing for, and you are not allowed." And he was screaming at me on the phone because I had spent $8 in food at the Burger King drive-thru to feed 4 hungry children after being at doctor's appointments for hours. He told me that I did not have permission to spend $8 from my own bank account. Next week, after a really exhausting and physically difficult week for me and really for our entire family that was going through this with, Ruben had asked for us to come to church with a very specific game plan for how we were never going to spend a penny of money on anything except for tithing and our mortgage. Specifically, no money on food whatsoever. And we were exhausted and we showed up for that hour-long meeting without that chart. And please pause to read this. Please read this email. This is the email that we received from our Elders Quorum president in our Mormon ward the next day about stewardship and accountability, about how we didn't complete the assignment that we'd been asked to complete so that we could receive the food order, and how he would rather see us go into a homeless shelter because it would help us to get back on our feet. Literally, this is our Elders Quorum of our Mormon ward telling us that he wanted us to go into a homeless shelter and lose our farm, lose our credit, lose fucking everything. In part because of the severe financial stress and just all of the medical things that I was going through. My husband, Jake, was so scarily abusive towards me that night I had to call my mom and tell her that I was afraid for my life. I told her everything that was going on and that the bishopric had said that they weren't going to give us a food order that week, that we had no money, that I had no money for food, that I had no money to put gas in the car and get the kids to school, that I was out there in South Carolina in the country in this farmhouse dying and being abused. Within about an hour, I had 6 members of my family on a conference call with me and Jake, telling Jake that if he touched me or did anything to me again, that they were going to call the cops on him that night, and giving him 24 hours to get me the hell out of there. We abandoned our home. He drove me across the country to Utah and dropped me off at my sister's house. That abuse intervention saved my life, and it also saved our family from that. I don't even like the word evil because I'm not religious, but that evil Mormon ward. I did make the mistake of letting Jake follow me out to my sister's house a few months later after he apologized and told me that he was doing better after he had packed up and sold our home out in South Carolina. And ultimately, obviously, it would end in several more years of domestic violence and finally divorce. But without any help from our Mormon church during a time when I was dying and fighting for my life, have I said that enough times in this video? We were making 6 figures again pretty quickly and paying a lot of fucking tithing to the Mormon church. By the way, it would take a little bit of doing to get that bank account shut down and get our Mormon priesthood leaders off of it after we left South Carolina. And I don't believe in hell either, but I hope there is one because there's a few people that I hope are there. And during a time when I was going through such a horrifying time in my life, just trying to be here for my kids and so that I could take care of them, I cannot believe that I was supporting the Mormon church rather than my Mormon church for the first time ever in our lives helping to support us.